Well, that sounded terrible. Good morning. Welcome to the Midlife. All right, we're live on YouTube.
That wasn't very convincing. That was a very low energy. How are you doing over there?
I'll
Welcome
tell you.
to the midlife.
Welcome to
Like,
Midlife. It's like now we're on PBS. Well, I'll tell you what. I was having a mild panic because I wasn't connecting to Facebook, but so
fantastic.
let me go live on Facebook. We're live. We did it.
We did it. We're here again.
We did it. We did it. Okay.
Welcome to
Good morning.
Wednesday. Good morning.
So today is live, and we've invited a lot of people. And maybe they'll
Fun.
show, maybe they won't. I hope they'll be brave and come because I want to talk about something a little dicey in relationships. So
Love it.
I thought that would be fun.
Yeah.
Before we get started, you had a moment of, well, we have many moments, but yesterday was a sparkling moment of majestic genius, and
Oh.
you named our people.
Oh, yes.
It was majestic genius, right? I think that was a fair description.
Yes, I wasn't sure what we were talking about, but now I am very clear.
Anyway, just to be clear, you weren't sure which piece of majestic
Right. I mean, there was a lot yesterday.
There
I felt
always.
like. I mean,
But
I
now
wouldn't
just
claim
wait.
it all, but I would say we together had a bunch of majestic magic yesterday.
This
Oh
one
my
you get all the
goodness.
credit. But before we start, we did it again. I never wear this color. I'm
I
never
know.
beige.
We're in creamies and beiges. I know.
Creamy and beige.
Ah,
Hey.
I love it. I love that we're on the wavelength, even in two separate places.
Yes.
So
very
fun.
cute.
So we do need to remind everyone a little like, office work that, we want you to jump on if you feel comfortable, and just to remember that if you do hit the call button and you come on, that you will be live and we will see you. And so you will be consenting to have your face on the video. And if you don't want to do that and you just want to be live and chat with us, come on in and just write in on the chat and we can talk to you that way. So that was
Absolutely.
the homework. Sorry.
No, that's
And
okay.
the big reveal of naming our group.
Yes,
Dun,
go. I'm
dun,
just chatting. We have an
dun.
audience member. I was just saying hello and welcome. Feel free to chat.
Yay.
We can't
Love
see
it.
you. We can't hear you unless you get called. Okay, so the big reveal, the majestic genius of naming all of you who join us 3 days a week and on our email list and on Instagram and Facebook and all the good places. You are now known as
The MLFers. Oh, and we love it for that reason, for sure, because we hope it makes you laugh as hard as it makes us laugh.
makes us laugh.
It makes us laugh. And I mean, I immediately was like, we need t-shirts and hats. I want to walk around with an MLFer shirt. Like, I feel like it completely changes the energy of midlife and menopause and all the things we're going through. And it just helps us remember we're a
Could it
little like
change the energy of my
badassy.
hair?
I think it might if you had a hat.
If I had a hat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think Kimby already slammed that out of the park and put them up in the shop because I needed to own them immediately, and they're super cute. There's like a reversible bucket sun hat, and one side says nothing and one side says MLFer, and then there's a t-shirt, and I'm super excited about it because everyone has a cute little name for their community, and now we have not a cute name, we have an awesome name because we think you guys are amazing.
And
Hey,
Betsy in the audience said, "Hi, ladies. Betsy from Fresno. Love the name. Hilarious and so funny. Well done. Thank you. Yes, Tracy. Well done. So fun."
Yes. Well, Betsy, you are an MLFer along with us. I love it.
Well, I wouldn't say knock it out of. Somehow the graphic I have up there is like the side of the head, and yeah. And
so you can't see it?
You can't see it so well. And then is everybody like this? Like, I had really low blood sugar. We had and it was 2:40 my time and I hadn't eaten yet. for lunch, and like I'm a baby, right? Like 2 hours need to be fed. And I could not figure out how to change it, even though I've done that a million times. Like the information was not accessible in my brain yesterday. So if you go look at the website
I
at the
know. And
shop,
you are really trying to make it happen. It was so
yeah,
cute. I was like, I think we're fried. We couldn't even come up with funny. And we can come up with funny. We
yeah,
were just laughing about how hard we were trying. Like, let's stop trying. Let's get back
I
to it
know.
when we're funny again.
The description says
Yeah.
something
So,
as entertaining as it's a hat. Like that's basically what it says. Here's a hat.
oh, I think hat is funny. I think maybe t-shirt's not funny. I don't know. Anyway, one was still quirky and fun, but we'll get it together. Don't worry, MLFers.
Yeah, so fun. Um,
Yeah.
so we dared ourselves to talk about relationships. And when we talk about relationships, we're talking about like any human to human connection, whether it's like a friend, a love relationship, a spouse, child, parent, somebody you work with, anything on the table. And I was just, as I was getting ready this morning, I was thinking about this moment I had. And I was just thinking how like amazing it is, right? As like human being, as animals, that we make these connections and that we bring people into our lives and we assign them into these relationships. I think that's kind of a miraculous idea, right? That we can talk to people, be with people, have them have an impact in our life, have an impact in their life. But I was thinking when Aiden was 6 months old and the whole family, like all of Dave's brothers and parents and all of the children, decided to go to Yosemite for Robert and Anna's, I don't know, it was like probably their 45th anniversary, something like that. Okay, so number one, not a super outdoorsy family in general. Number two, I was 6-month-old infant. So July in Yosemite, not great planning, right?
Oh dear.
But you know me, good soldier, I'm along for the ride. And I have this really clear memory of sitting in this restaurant booth because there's a million of us. And I guess I was like so hormonal and so exhausted that I completely dissociated from my body. And I remember sitting there going, who are these people? Do I even know these people? This is supposed to be my family. How is that possible? And I think so. It's like there's the wonder of it, like it is an amazing miracle. And then the other part of it, I was like, who the fuck are these people? I was like, I thought about
Oh
relationships
my.
because really, in your life, like who the fuck are these people?
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. How did you reconcile it?
Not on that trip. Because Aiden was going through some growth spurt where I had, and we were at a hotel, right? And we were like the fancy Yosemite hotel. And he would cry unless I allowed him. I mean, for sure, they to the podcast because he'd be mortified. But the only way that I could keep him quiet and not cry was to allow him to sleep with his mouth on my boob all night.
Uh-huh.
And I know that many of us have been there, and I was miserable, and I was like, it was all bad. And I think I was just out of my mind for the entire trip.
Of course. I mean, gosh, what, 6 weeks? Was it 6 weeks?
He was 6 months. So he was having
6
that like
months.
6-month
Okay.
growth spurt, you know?
Oh, yeah. I was like, wait, you're crazy.
I mean, and I
is
had
so
a
crazy.
3.5-year-old too, you know, so it was crazy. So I did not reconcile on that trip. I've since reconciled and been super grateful for all of those people that I get to call family. But and I just thought, I mean, it's kind of an amazing thing that we create relationships.
Yeah, well, I mean, originally, right, it was like a sense of belonging and community, and you needed it for survival, right? Like you needed the whole community to take care of each other. And I think there's something kind of lovely about that. and I know in modern times that is not the reality of our families.
Well, isn't it? I mean, in a weird way, do we not need our people for survival? Like survival? Think
Do
about
we
like
need them for
isolation
it? Do they give us
and
that?
loneliness. I mean, kind of. Some of
I think
them.
it, yeah, I think some of them do. And I think that we also now have evolved into, right, creating the community and the family that we want, right? And that feeds us and that works. And so, you know, I was just talking yesterday with a girlfriend that was saying, this is the reality of my mom and my dad, and it's for her, she's still coming to terms with, and I think we do this in midlife, like coming to terms with that they're just people and they're doing the best they can, and we can just like kind of step away and not be in that kind of younger version of us where we had to deal with it and we were connected to it and it meant something about us, right? To have to get this person's love and have to show up in that unit and things like that. And so I think, this is a time where we're kind of looking at our relationships and reevaluating like how they work for us, how they don't work for us, um, and how to revisit it, right? I keep thinking about this, reinvention that we keep talking about. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like in all ways, right? And so even in our relationships, in our family blood relationships, in our friendships, like how can we reinvent ourselves and our relationships by deciding from a place of what feels good, what doesn't, how can I step further away and be more compassionate? Because as we talked it through even yesterday, it was like, doesn't it, like when you step further away, you think, isn't it sad like that they don't have those pieces in them, they can't pass them on because they weren't modeled them and they weren't given them either, and then you start to get sad, like, oh, right, like this is what love looks like to that person. It may not
Mm,
feel that way to you, but can you remind yourself that it is, and this is them loving you in their best way. And obviously there's abuse, and we're not talking about
no,
extremes, we're just talking
right.
about like your
Normal fuck
your
upness.
right, normal crazy making Bananaville, right?
Oh wow! You go to Bananaville for the banana nip.
Yeah.
It's getting a whole universe.
So yeah, I just kind of thinking about what are the ones that are working for us and how they feed us, and the ones that are challenging, how can we reinvent the relationship and look at it from this place of owning who we are, how far we've come, what we like, what we don't like, what works for us, what doesn't work for us, and still come from love for ourselves and the other.
Yeah. The word that popped into my head too, relationships need to be reinvigorated, right?
Yeah,
So
they
reinvented, that like reinvigorated. And I
yeah.
think about, you know, some long-term relationships that people have. And those, I mean, those can be anything, parent, child, spouse, and how we get complacent in
Yeah.
relationships. And I think a lot about blame in relationships too, like that we expect, that expectation. I love how you always say like, don't go to the post milk, like how you want that person to show up, but you don't necessarily think about, well, how are you showing up, and how much power you have to reinvent and reinvigorate a relationship if you show up differently. I don't know if that resonates for anybody
Yes.
in our audience.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what attaches to that, which by the way, Betsy, thank you. She is in love with the whole banana vocabulary. We're just gonna keep growing it. I love it. Blame a lot reminds me of those stories, right? Those
Yeah.
old stories, or the story that we get stuck in, right? And so sometimes blame, or even just the repeating story, like, oh, they always, this is how they do, and it's like, how do we play with that and stretch it and go, okay, look at the story I always tell. Ugh. How does that story make me feel? And how does it have me showing up in this relationship? Because it limits how you can show up when you're thinking those things, right? And so if it's, always blaming them for something, or blaming them for how you feel, or the relationship, and just kind of trying on some new ways of even like we played yesterday with the like, well, even just thinking, gosh, that's their best version. They didn't know any better. They're trying their best, and that opens up a different window to a different relationship and way of showing up for someone. And I think it's kind of playing with those blame and those stories, and and seeing if you can stretch yourself to try something else on. Because just like in our relationships, right?
Yeah.
Even with your kids, as I get older, and I think that as we age and our relationships change because our needs change and our thinking changes, and what we want, our priorities change, all of the things change, and we have to be aware of what is real for us now, and how does this relationship work at this moment, and how do I want it to work, and really just kind of taking that moment to work on the ones that are rough.
I think about when you talk about stories, and I know I'm so guilty of this. I can create an entire dialogue, like it is a two-sided conversation in my head of exactly what that person's going to say and exactly how they're going to react and exactly what they're going to do, without ever like giving them the opportunity. Hey, by the way, that limits me because I'm being reactive to a situation rather than taking the initiative to direct the conversation a different way, because I'm letting it play out in that same old story. It's like a sitcom formula, right? It's like you're going to sit down and you're going to watch the sitcom over and over and over, even though it's totally formulaic, but it's comfortable. So you're going to keep watching it. And I think we do that in our relationships too. Like we already decide for the other person how they always behave. But I just want to challenge and dare everybody out there to say, well, maybe you're like the opening chess move. Maybe it's what you're doing first that's setting that pattern, right?
Yes.
So, well, wait a second, maybe it's me, not you. Like that's a but I also would like to flip that concept of like it's not my responsibility. It's your power. Can completely change a story, how you relate to another person, how they relate to you by changing your actions. I know it because I've done it myself. And it really is, it takes being honest with yourself, your responsibility, and challenging yourself to behave differently. And it's hard because we all have patterns and those, even though they're uncomfortable, they're weirdly comfortable.
Yes. I think, isn't it, they say when you tell a story over and over again, it becomes a belief.
Yeah.
And a belief that you think is fact, right? And so it's like this is for sure. This cannot change. This is the way it is.
You don't even give the person the chance to change, right? I mean,
well, you make sure it doesn't change because you've already decided it's the same, right? And so you're limiting
that
both
powerful. Of you. You're so amazingly powerful. Use it for good, not evil.
Right. And hey, we both know how hard this can be with certain people, right? And so I think those are the moments where Kimby and I talk about like daring ourselves, like turning it into something that pulls our courage out and goes, okay, I'm going to dare myself to try that other story. I'm going to try on some other stories, and I'm going to just see how it works. I'm going to dare myself to try it and see, I'm the woo-woo energy girl in the universe. And I mean, underneath it all, Kimby believes it too, I swear. But anyway,
that's totally true. I totally do.
It's totally true. And
I'm just not going to admit it in public. In a public
you
forum.
didn't just do that.
Right?
You didn't do that live, I promise.
With my sage and my positive energy candle.
Of course. Oh my gosh, new space, new energy. I love it. So I kind of lost my thought, but it's
I'm sorry, the woo. You believe in the woo.
The woo, that the energy shifts. So when I shifted in me, and I've proven it over and over and over again, that it changes the way it plays out, and it changes the way people show up. It changes my openness to even knowing that that's shifting and changing.
Yeah. I'm just asking our studio audience if they've been ever able to shift a relationship.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I interrupt your train
or not
my typing?
Because I
or
know
do you want to? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's in the chat. If you guys want to chat, you can. If you want to ask us, if there's like a specific issue you're having in a relationship and you want Tracy and I to weigh in, like that. Or that's what the energy we want to bring. We want to open it up because they're so complicated and hard. All of them, even the good ones, you have to keep working at it.
You do. And I think it's really fun to play with other people about your thoughts and like giggle about how stuck we are in them. And I do that a lot with clients.
Yeah, you do.
Like, I'm sure you do too. Yeah, that we're like, I just start laughing. I'm like, can you hear yourself? Like, cause it's fun to play with them and hear ourselves and hear where we're stuck. And maybe sometimes we don't think we are, and so to me, that's the fun of it. It was like, okay, let's just pull out the story you're telling. And, and what we usually are is we are pretty stuck on that story. We are attached to it. Right. And so it takes a little time and it takes some good belly laughs about it to free up the energy and say, because first it's like, no, that is who they are and I don't deserve it. And there's nothing I can do about it. And we all do the same thing. Right. And it's like, no, I'm going to stick my feet in the mud, And so the more we can show up for each other and be like, any chance you're stuck in the mud over there? Like, okay. And if you're stuck on that story, what does it do for you? And what you'll mostly say is, well, it makes them, and it's like, no. Yeah. So, it's the tools of like, no, it's not about them. It's about you. And even thinking negative things about them, they don't feel that, right? That doesn't affect them at all.
Of course it does.
Except for limiting the relationship, right?
Yeah.
So they're having their own banana-ness about your banana-ness, right? Because we're all doing it. And so until someone breaks that and goes, hey, can we do this differently? Like, or just opens up to the idea of doing it differently and seeing what shifts and what's available. And, sometimes people snap like rubber bands and it doesn't feel good at first because they're used to, like you're saying, the comfort that's of a discomfort, right? It's like, we hate this relationship, but this is how the relationship works. And if we change it, maybe we'll lose the relationship. And that's the fear, right? But why
not be willing to lose the bad relationship, right? So just try something new,
right? Or be brave enough to say, I believe it could change because I'm still heart invested here, and I'm gonna stay heart invested even if you snap at first because you're gonna want me to change back to doing it however we've done it, and I'm just gonna keep telling my new story to myself and reminding myself I can choose this one, I can keep choosing it, and I can keep showing up, and I can keep choosing it, and therefore this is the story I'm living. Right? Because it's the same as telling the terrible story to yourself that you're living that one. Because again, they're living whatever version they're living inside their heads and their hearts. And you can't change that version, only they can. So really, it's back to you and changing it for yourself so that you can feel however you want to.
Yeah. So we've got quite a few people in the audience now, which is lovely. And I just want to encourage you to jump in the chat. We can't see or hear you. If you want to just chat with us, that's totally fine. Or you can hit I think there's like a call-in button if you want to come on and ask us a question or join the conversation. Just know that that's what we're here for. If you're comfortable and however we can serve you is why we're here today. The other thing I think
and we'd love to meet you.
Yes. The other thing about is people say, well, I tried. And by that, really, they tried once and the person didn't like miraculously behave in the way that they were, I hate to say manipulate, but like trying to shift the relationship or the way that person relates to you or you relate to them. But like patterns are so deeply ingrained. We have learned them so well. Like our so deep and rooted that it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of trust with the other person. Like just because you shift something and they go, wait a second, what's going on here? And they kind of take a step back because it's confusing because it doesn't fit the story. Saying about like being committed to how you're changing the story and being willing to live it regardless of what the reaction is important to give that relationship like the time and the breath to shift. Because I think, you've been doing the same to that person for however long, then back to you. If you're changing it, they need some time to adjust also.
Yes, I think it's so amazing because I think that's such a good point, and it's about staying committed
Mm,
to you doing it for yourself and knowing that that's what you're doing it for and that's what you're in control of. I have a client that, we worked for a long time, a year, and the fear was I'm going to lose my husband because I'm changing so much. And I was like, deep breath. That's not the truth, right? That's another story, right? And we went through the experience of the story and whatever. And it was like, okay, you can only do you. And so if you're in and you love this person, you can still keep showing up and loving them and letting them grow as they want to. I'm like, he is not talking to me every week. Like, he is not on the fast path to changing his insides and making these choices. He's watching you change. It's probably really fucking scary for him too, right? And so that's hard on a relationship, and you can still be all in no matter what the relationship is and keep showing up and keep taking care of yourself. And I want to say, like, a year and a half later, I get a text from her that says, oh my God, my husband just shared a feeling. And she's like, I've been married a really long time. And I was like, win, win, right? Because it took that long for him to feel comfortable but you do plant seeds by being the
yes,
person you want to be and by
totally.
asking in a loving way, whether it's ever using words or just doing it the way you want to and holding those boundaries by only allowing the story you want to be there and keep showing up. Doesn't mean you have to get rid of people. It means you just got to stay on your 10 acres and really keep taking care of yourself. And I know I
Yeah.
say that a lot. And I did write a blog about the 10 acres in case you're new to the 10 acres. So go on the website and check out the blog and they'll make more sense to you. But yeah, I think it's like you said, it's important you just keep committed because people do have to trust you because you are changing. Is it real? Is it not real? Are you going to bounce back? Are you going to lean
Yeah.
in? And if you show them, no, this is it. This is what I got. This is what I'm doing. This is where I am. This is where my heart is. And they start to, and they may be nervous about it and they may have whatever feelings. They may not have the ability to speak to it,
Yes.
and you just keep showing up. They will learn to trust what's going on.
Yeah. I just want to take a quick moment before I have my next thought, which was so amazing and just left my head. So that's fun. Maybe it'll come
Ah,
back.
boo, sorry.
But I just wanted to reach out to our audience and just ask them, like, like what's the best relationship in your life right now, or what's the most challenging relationship in your life right now? So if you want to share, and again, we can't see you. We don't even have to use your names. Like maybe we need to make it totally anonymous for people that want to just be in the
Sure.
chat. So if you want to pipe up with any challenges you're having with certain relationships or in a relationship, we would love to hear from you. Go ahead and chat. Aw. Well, Betsy, we've already outed you, so I'm using your name again. Thank you. Such awesome stuff today. She says, took a ton of notes. Please talk about this again. Have to go to a meeting. Good luck at your meeting. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. But I was going to say, the thought came back. Oh my God.
Yay.
Amazing. Was part of it, it's not just staying on your 10 acres, which is so critical, mission critical, but I think you're modeling behavior. And I think that's what your client did, was model the behavior of, hey, this might be really one-sided right now, but I'm going to tell you what I'm actually thinking. And I always say, like, talk to the person in the room, stop talking just to the person in your head. So that modeling that good behavior. And I think that, especially in a household, goes so far, whether it's a relationship that you live with, whether you're married to that person or not, and children. I think modeling that good form of communication. One that really helped me as my kids got older was it's not just about how they feel, like they can't always feel like they have to be the ones that are like talking, like you want your kid to talk to you, want to know what's going on. But the flip side of that is you have to teach them and you have to let them into your life also. And I feel like that also builds trust, where somebody's willing to share information with you, especially a growing and maturing young adult. So I found that when you know, I also feel very strongly that we have a lot of power as the matriarch in a household, whether that's or a love relationship or whatever it is, to set the tone. So there would be days where I would be upset about something or angry about something. I found that if I would just open up and tell my kids, like, oh, I kind of had a shitty day, what happened, and this is why I'm upset, it teaches them that they are important to you, that you're letting them into their lives, and it like sort of gives them the model with how to share with you instead of us just like being there waiting. And you're going to tell me what's happening.
I may scare you and tell you that you actually taught them that they're allowed to feel their feelings and you
Stop
shared
it.
that. I know you don't want to hear that, but it is big stuff over here. I think it's hugely important, right? So we came from an era of like not even knowing there were feelings inside. And so
Well, they were allowed to have feelings, but we weren't.
right. But I don't think they could name them though. They just had them all over us. And,
So messy.
but again, totally the modeling, the allowing, the openness, and that's for every relationship, not just your kids, right? When you start to be able to be that vulnerable and be that honest, I feel like every time I'm vulnerable, even with a stranger, they are vulnerable back. It like
your
opens,
Petco lady,
like the Petco lady. We'll talk about that another day. But yeah, I shared some big feelings at Petco, and everyone that worked there was like, oh, "Thank you," and they all shared some with me, and I was like, "Okay, that's where I was." Yeah, I think it matters.
That's the human experience, right?
Right. I mean, we're all going through it, so I love your line that's like, talk to the person in the room, not the one in your head. It's like, it's true. The more we can share, the more we can be vulnerable, and the more we allow it to be kind of comfortable to do. And I'm finding that more and more in midlife. Even with my friends, like to deepen the friendship, I need to throw a card down, and then they're willing to totally show me a card that and that I feel that's very fruitful.
Yes. Oh, God, I love that imagery too of like putting your cards down. I love it.
Yeah.
True. And I think that this gift of the midlife is that we get better at it. I mean, I just, I can, from my experience, having had 3 children at very different times of my life, I see how much of a better parent I've been as time has gone on because I've gotten more in touch with my feelings and I'm more better about asking Tyler about his time and what difference that's made for like his EQ kind of. And the other thought I had, which is kind of a little bit more deeper and more personal than we usually go, but I'm daring myself to do that, is I almost feel like I got to stay married to the same person, but we have a different marriage. And I know because things shifted in a really positive way where I really take it. I wasn't letting him into all of the shit going on in my head. And so now when I do that, it's completely like up to the intimacy in our relationship.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people
a good one
maybe
to start on.
Yeah. And I think there is that happens a lot with gray divorce. Like people want a do-over, and I get it. And there are a lot of good reasons for that. And I'm not judging, shaming, or categorizing any of that. I feel grateful that I almost like, not that it was a do-over, like it was just like upped it and made it better because I feel like I've been able to get better.
Right. Well, it's a deepening, right? Yeah. So you got deeper within yourself and then you got vulnerable enough to allow that depth and be vulnerable. And I think, when you said we get better at it, and I think we get braver. And I think that's what makes us better at it is we get braver. And to me, braver is the ability to show our cards, to be
Yeah.
more vulnerable, to be more honest, to actually use our words. And I think that starts to happen in this part of our lives too, because it's like, if not now, when?
Yeah.
If
Seriously.
I'm not gonna make the change, like I have enough life experience to go, okay, hold on, and what do I want it to look like here? And I think it's important. I think that's where we started. It's like, just like you're saying with you and Dave and your relationship, like that at this point with who I am now, right? What do I need? What feeds me? What makes me feel juicy? What feels good to me? And then I want to look for how to bring more of that into all my relationships and more in my life.
Yeah. That just intention of actually knowing what you want, right?
Yeah, uncovering it. We're actually
Totally.
working on something that's going to help you do that. So
Yeah.
that'll be
Oh,
fun
that'll be
too.
fun. So we're
Yeah.
kind of past a half hour mark ish where we try to kind of keep things manageable for your very busy lives. And so before we go, I
Yeah.
just want to give our audience a last opportunity. If you want to pop something in the chat, we'll keep it anonymous. If you have any questions or if this brought up any feelings for you, if you disagree with us, we'd love to hear it. Like, I mean, it's open for discussion and you can do that in the chat completely anonymously. You can pop on real fast before we end. Totally up.
Or you can
Um,
DM us or you can email us at Kimby and Tracy at the Midlife or Tracy and Kimby at the Midlife. And you can always
yes,
reach us all these ways.
yes.
And maybe when we stop recording, if you're in the audience and you just want to say a quick hi after, we
No,
can
love
do that
that.
too. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Emma.
All right. MLFers, you're the best.
I mean,
We'll
if I were,
talk to you on Friday.
yeah, if I were going to get a tattoo, are we going to get matching tattoos?
Oh my
I don't
gosh,
know.
I love it. I love it.
That'd be so fun. All right.
So fun. All right, great chatting.